Hey guys, it's Hani here, and today I'm gonna be sharing with you step-by-step tutorial on how to decorate Scarecrow cookies using a Snowman cookie cutter. Let's get started. First, we're going to make wafer paper decorations. I am using colored wafer paper. If you can find colored wafer paper, you can also use white wafer paper and airbrush it with different colors, and then use a small punch to cut out the shapes. This punch is from a scrapbooking set. You can easily find these online. They come in a variety of different shapes and are great for all different holidays and events. And you can use them to cut out your shapes out of wafer paper or even frosting sheet, and then use them to decorate your cookies or cakes. Store these away from moisture and sunlight, and then use them to decorate. I'm also using my sugar cookie recipe to make the cookies, and we'll be using royal icing to decorate. With edible marker, draw the guidelines, and then starting with the head, we're going to outline and flood with 20-second consistency ivory royal icing. If you're not familiar with different consistencies, it's an easy fix. You can find my step-by-step tutorial here on YouTube about different consistencies, and also picture tutorial on my blog hanielas.com. Now, while the base is wet, pipe the eyes also with about 20-second consistency, and for the reflection you can either use white icing. I optioned for the ivory that I already had in hand. Now for the bottom part, I used edible marker to divide the bottom into segments. And I'm using 20-second consistency sky blue royal icing, and we're going to outline and flood every other section. Use your scribe tool or a toothpick if you don't have a scribe tool to move the icing to accentuate the points and distribute it evenly. After you are done with all these three segments, we have to let them crust before we add the segments that are before we flood the segments that are remaining. Crusting will maybe take about 30 minutes or so. I'm going to start with doing the hair. I'm using a small ribbon piping tip and stiff royal icing that I colored with ivory food coloring. You can also use a small round piping tip to create the straw look. I just decided to do it more flat this time. And there, you can remove the excess with a 2-in-1 tool, and then we're gonna start by adding the first layer for the head. I'm using brown royal icing that I thinned down to about 20 to 25-second consistency, and then we have to let that crust also. Now we're gonna finish the bottom. I'm going to create some interesting details here, so I'm keeping a hole in one segment. That's where the straw is going to be peeking out, and I'm also going to add a patch, but we have to wait for the icing to crust. Now we can start working on the middle part, and again this is going to be created with segments, so we have to create each segment separately and then flood the segments in between. I'm also using wet on wet, piping red lines onto the wet icing. When doing wet on wet piping lines, it's important not to cut your piping tip too big, because then the line, once it sinks, it kind of gets bigger. So it's best to cut it small. And again, this is about 20-second consistency. And I'm using tipless piping bags to decorate, except the piping tip I used for the hair. You can find these in my Amazon shop. Link is in the description box. Now finish the hat. And you could leave it like this, but we're going to add the leaves at the very top. Now I'm adding a small square in red and also brown. I'm gonna let those dry, and now we can add the straw like it's peeking out using the ribbon piping tip there. Now these are also crusted, so we can finish this part. Isn't it adorable? I love how this turned out. It also reminds me with the colors Woody from the Toy Story, and I have a full tutorial on how to make Woody on my blog and also on YouTube using I think it was a t-shirt cookie cutter. Now make the nose and the mouth. Use piping consistency icing. Now I'm doing a zigzag line across the head at the very top. And now we're going to attach those wafer leaves we did earlier. So using a little bit of real icing, and I'm using tweezers to handle these because they are kind of small. And you don't want to be touching them too much either. All right. Now we're going to do some stitching here with black. It is important that the patch is crusted over before you add the stitches. And I'm using piping consistency, the same consistency I used for the mouth. And there. So this is how you can use a Snowman cookie cutter to make Scarecrow cookies. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Be sure to let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, also don't be shy and let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.